Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick recording about the 1.08 lab report that's due about modeling Earth's processes. So I went ahead and I opened up the Unit 1 and I'm going down to the assignment, the 1.08 laboratory. So the first thing that you always need to do whenever you are opening up and looking at a lab is to click the lesson introduction. That is the most important thing that gives you a student guide. Sometimes the student guides are just basic overviews, but sometimes they're really important because they give you really important vital information that you need in order to complete the lab report. So first things first, we're going to click this. This lab's a little bit different because it is a video lab instead of one of those interactive virtual labs. So once this lesson introduction loads up, it just gives you a brief overview of what the lab is actually about. You use the little arrows at the bottom of the screen to scroll over to the second page, and it's always the last page of the lesson introduction where you can access the student guide. So you open this up, it's a PDF file. You can print this if you'd like, but you need to refer to it consistently. It tells you an overview of what you need to do to get the lab completed, like from the beginning to the end. It has everything that you need. So as you scroll through this student guide, it gives you information like take some notes here, or this is the procedure you're going to do. Part A, you're going to view the video. Part B, you're going to look at the data. And then it gives you all of this information at the bottom. As you can see, it gives you a density table and it gives you the mass and the volume. So in this case, the only thing blank on this table is the density column, and that's going to be where you actually calculate your density. Density equals mass divided by volume. Hopefully you remember that. Now the rest of it is actually time units and then mass units. You're going to use these to make a graph later on. You can either do this graph by hand or you can do it a different way. Now, once you have downloaded your student guide, you go back into your lesson. You're going to go through the lab and the actual information background. What is a conglomerate? How does different factors of it affect the way that it weathers? And how can we create a conglomerate on our own? It gives you some examples, some pictures. Make sure that you go through this and read it thoroughly because this is going to help you creating your hypotheses and being able to explain everything later on. So once you get to the investigation module, it gives you some more information about how to actually create the conglomerate. This is something that's done in the video as well. It also gives you background on how to calculate density, which is definitely important because you know that's part of the table. Talking about how to observe changes because this is what you're actually doing in the video and how you're going to answer the questions. And then on the very last page, the page 5 of 5, there is a video that will pop up. This is where you actually watch and observe. You use that combined with the student guide in order to answer the questions that are on your lab report. So after you go through your lesson, you can access your lab report, and you do this by either clicking the link in the bottom or actually clicking the Dropbox itself. And those are both ways that you can download that Word document. Okay, so once you download this Word document, it's going to pop up and you're going to use your student guides to complete some of this information, and some of this you're actually going to just complete by thinking for a second after you've watched that video. One of the things I always suggest is for you to save it as a document on your desktop or in a folder as opposed to keeping it in your downloads. Always include the name of the assignment, the class, and then your last name. That way, no matter where you turn it in, if you accidentally turn it into the wrong Dropbox, your teacher is able to figure out what assignment it was supposed to be. So back to the lab report, the first thing you do is write a hypothesis. And then as you see here, the first table has a nice little table that has conglomerate and plain rock. And that should look a little bit familiar to you because that's directly from the student guide. You can scroll right down the student guide and you'll see exactly where the table is that looks very similar, if not identical, to the one on the lab report. You're essentially just going to copy over the information in the columns, except for that last column. The next questions, you just go through and answer. Some of them are opinion based, but make sure that if it tells you to explain your answer, that you explain the answer or you will not receive full credit. The next question asks for you to make a graph. There's a number of ways that you can do that. You can create a graph in Word and then, well, a table in Word, enter some of the data points, and then create a graph from there. You can also find a website where you can enter data points and create a graph from there. And then you can also use Excel if you'd like to do that and create a graph from there. At this point, you should have created a graph, if not at least a few times. Make sure that whenever you are doing this, you either enter all of the points exactly or you go through and enter an evenly spaced points. So for example, let's say that you didn't want to enter every single point, but you entered the first one, which was 5. You skip 2, you go down to 20. You skip 2, you go down to 35, and so on. As long as you are entering them evenly, your overall curve should be the same. It obviously will look better the more points that you have, but you can kind of skip every few ones and get the same idea. And then the last question asks you to interpret your graph. So obviously you have to have done the question before that in order to answer it. Hopefully this has helped you guys a little bit. I know that labs are never easy whenever you first are coming in from a brick and mortar experience and coming into this online school and learning how to do it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, live help, call me on the phone. My extension's 4006, or email me. All right, bye.